Hey everybody, if you've been following along in order, you've already seen us build this redwood and cedar planter box. Now, it's made up of very simple materials that don't cost a whole lot and some scrap redwood. Well, I'm going to show you that I get scrap redwood all the time from making various other projects. And it's absolutely a brilliant material as it actually, well, it finishes out everything and makes it look dynamite, but it also lasts. It weathers really, really well. And that's important, because we want these planter boxes to be around for a long, long time. So as you can see in this box, if you're paying attention, if you look right here, we've got some peas. That's right, some snow peas are starting to come up. And so now we're gonna need a place for them to go. So with this project, we're gonna be building one of these trellises. In fact, we're gonna be building a few custom trellises for this patio area in order to have more and more of these planter boxes with a different variety of vegetables. And since we're going to be focusing on peas and beans and things like that, we need them to be very tall trellises. So they're custom built. We're gonna do them in two pieces. The base piece will be a 2x4 base, and the upper piece will be essentially the leftover scrap material that we have from, well, ripping the 2x6s down to 2x4s in the first place. But you'll see the process as we go through it, and I think we can get started. Let's build it. All right, so let's get started on this project. We're gonna rip down these 2x6 redwood boards that I picked up at my local big box. In this case, it was much cheaper to buy the 2x6x10s than it was to buy the 2x4s by anything. Because you always look at what the cost is per linear foot and figure out if you can actually cut down the boards to make it more economical. And in this case, I'm happy. I'm actually thrilled. The reason being is I use redwood scraps all over the place and for a lot of different reasons if you've seen any other videos on the channel. So what I'm going to do here is set the fence up, which I've already done, to cut off 5/8 of an inch of scrap. This will leave me with the balance of the board to square to 3.5 inches, which is what a 2x4 actually is. So here we are, cutting some redwood. And as I rip each of these to dimension, I will remind you to use proper safety equipment and safety practices so you don't injure yourself on a job like this. If you don't know what those are, consult the safety manuals that are provided by the tool manufacturers, as they will give you everything that you need to use the tools properly. Okay. Now that we have our boards, I should say, dimensioned, let's go ahead and cut them to length. We're going to measure out 36 inches here, which will give us our width of our trellis, or at least the trellis frame, that we will eventually set the trellis within. As you can see here, I'm marking two boards simultaneously, although I will eventually use these boards to mark each other as a template going forward. This will save me time, and since the 36 inches are pretty much a standard dimension, these will be very useful going forward. Now I'm going to take them over to the miter saw and cut these very quickly. As you can see, I've stacked two of these on top of each other to make it easier and faster to cut all of these boards. We'll be building two of these trellises simultaneously because, well, it just makes sense. And if you're already setting up your tools to build one thing, you should go ahead and build as many as you need all at the same time. So I decided to take my own advice and, well, I've decided to build even more of these trellises, so I marked more boards, more of my redwood, to 36 inches. Now, for my friends that use the metric system, that is 91.44 centimeters that I'm cutting these to length. And I have a lot of them to cut. I'm going to be building 4 of these instead of 2. The good news is, every side of this square is 36 inches, or 91.44 centimeters. All right, now that that's all knocked out, let's move on to routing the groove for our trellis to sit in. Now we're at the point where we have to router out our 2x4 pieces that we've cut to length. Again, these are all 2x4s now that have been cut 36 inches long. They're ready to be routed out. Now what I've done is I set up my router bit so that it sits at 1/2 inch tall, 1/2 inch. It's going to route into this Redwood 2x4 and cut a groove 1/2 inch deep. It's going to do it dead center. So the dead center of this bit is set up at 1 3/4 inches on a 3.5 inch wide board. So that should get the job done. So here we go. And there we go. And there we go. We now have routed out a channel for our trellis to set inside. We only have to do this 15 more times. Oh boy, here we go. All right, so now we have to do something about these pieces. These are 1.5 inches wide. They need to have a groove cut in them the same way, right down through here. In order to do that, we have to set up our tool so that it is 3/4 inch on the center, so it cuts right down the middle of this. Let's set that up right now. That's 3/4 inch. 3/4 inch. We're going to need a guide. We use one of the 2x4s we just routed out so that we can hold this piece as it's being grooved, because these, well, they bend and twist a lot easier than the 2x4s do. So if we have a guide, make a nice straight cut. Time for some clamps. window it. Wow, only 8 more of those to go. And I won't bore you with those details, but all I'm doing now is making that groove for the trellis to sit in. So we will finish this up and then jump on the assembly of the lower trellis frame so we can cut our trellis. Here we go. Okay, now that we've got all of our grooves taken care of, and we basically got our groove on, we need to assemble the base panel. So we're gonna mock this one up real quick to make sure that we make the correct cut for our trellis. And once we get this all set up and square, we'll do our measurements, double check that we're indeed going to be cutting this at about a little under 35 inches in the total dimension, and we'll see if that actually works. So let's go ahead and mock this up. We're gonna drill some pilot holes here real quick. Using the wrong bit as usual. All right, couple countersink holes. Always a good plan. Even though we're using some deck screws, it'll countersink themselves. I just like a little bit of extra reassurance that I'll get the screw down just below the level of the wood. There we go. Load up our screw. Boom. One to go. Perfect. All right, one corner done. Let's get the rest done. Get out my corner belt clamp. That's what I need to do. Very helpful indeed. I will do this with this framing clamp. There we go. Nice and tight. Same deal as before. Pilot hole. Countersink. Deck screws. Really countersunk in there. A little deeper than I wanted to go, but that's fine. Probably gonna be the bottom anyway, so that's good. Beautiful. All right, one more side to go. Remember, it's always about maximizing material. So one of the reasons I'm doing this now, even though I'll have to disassemble it partially, is to make sure that I have the right material measurement, because I want to maximize my material. All right, our frame is done. Now let's measure it. measure again from here to our mark right there. Wow. That's crazy. It's even less than I thought. I measured. It's at 33 3/4. Wow, quite a difference. Once again, glad I measured. For some reason, I still don't want to believe it. But I guess it's true. Try measuring one other way. See if we can rectify this in my mind. I'll rest this on here. And we're going to clamp these down square to see if we get the same measurement. Alright. That's essentially square. There we go. Alright. From here to there. Just under 34 inches. Well, that solves what we thought, and it is what I thought to begin with. Just under 34 inches. Now we set our saw up for that cut. Now, setting it up for just under 34 inches will give us a little bit of play, which is fine, and kind of something we desire, and it'll leave us some excess trellis. So, let's get started. Okay. So now we have to set up our saw, as we mentioned, just a little smidge over 14 inches. Why? Because my table saw's not 48 inches wide, and I can't just cut from one side to the other that easily. So I'm going to be taking off 14 and an eighth and a little bit extra, and maybe another 1/16 of an inch to allow for the excess material that's on the trellises, but also so that I get that little bit of wiggle room or play from the actual panel that I'm keeping that'll slide down into our trellis base. So there we go. Let me warn you, cutting trellises is not simple. It's not a regular piece of lumber. Whew. One down, one to go. Just be safe. Woohoo! Beautiful. All right. And the trellis looks great. Very excited. Now let's assemble our panel. Right, that. Now we get a quick measure of our interior dimensions of our frame, which we put in place against this post. It looks like we're going to need 36 and 3/4 inches of panel. So let's cut the panel again, shall we? All right, so now we measure our trellis to 36 3/4 inches. Allow for the bend, everybody, because trellis bends. So we'll try to line up all these elements. Mark our trellis. Do it the same at the other end, or other side in this case. We're going to use a straight edge to draw straight across between these 2 points. Hopefully that gives us a nice clean measurement there. 36 3/4. Ba-bam. Straight edge point to point. There we go. One straight line. Now the tricky part. Cutting it on the table saw. There ain't a lot of room here. Whew. Well, we'll figure it out. And there we go. Hooray. All right, now that we have our trellis piece cut, we can finish assembling this frame and make it look like it's supposed to look. So, the trellis piece should slide right in this groove, believe it or not, very easily. Let's see if we can make it go. Make it so. Look at that. Just like downtown. And now we're squared up. One small thing to note, if you want to fasten this permanently, it's a good idea to put your screws in. So, now that we know this fits, we'll slide it out. We're gonna screw this to our post. Check and see if it's somewhat level first. Let's do that real quick. Hey, it's pretty close. Can't get any better. The post just isn't 100% square. Let's check this way. Ooh, that we can fix. That's right there. How's that not square? That's crazy. Place. Pretty good. Not great, but can't do anything about it. Just post is just crooked. All right, let's screw it in. Beautiful. Pull that out just a little ways. I don't like the way that's sitting. I don't like that it's pulling it out of square with the sidewalk. I think we're gonna shim it. Fortunately, I keep packages of shims Just hanging around. All right. Let's get some shims in place. Sorry about that, little bud. There we go. All right, one more screw. And there we go. Sweet. Very good. Once again, we fit our trellis. You know what? I want to see it this way. That'll be better. Oh, gotta remove our clamp. Stay there, little trellis. Trellis. And voila. Boom. Perfecto. Now just put the cap on and we're done with the base. Now we button this all up. There. Same over here. Boom, and una más. We're done. Base frame complete. Now we just need a top frame. Let's get on it. Okay, so now we have to measure for our upper trellis, and we want this to be 44 3/4 inches in height. So we're gonna measure that out real quick, mark it, and cut it. 44 3/4 inches right here. A bit over on this side too. And then we will run our square across it. And take it to the miter saw. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and cut 4 of these so that we have 4 uprights. We also know that we'll have 2 36-inch pieces as well, so might as well measure for those at the same time. Now this wood is bent, and we're gonna have to fiddle with it a little bit to make it work the best for us, but hey, it'll be worth it in the end. Looks like we have a bee visiting us. 36. 36. I think we can get one more 36-inch piece out of here. Let's take a look and see. Hey, look at that. Inches, ba-bam. All right, now we just need to cut all of these. Again, we're going to need 4 of these and 4 of these, 4 at 44 3/4 and 4 at 36. So let's go cut them. So now we have our pieces cut. We've got to put them up here, get them attached to this post and to this header up here so that we can get our trellis set neatly in place. And of course, this is all kind of bespoke, so these measurements are going to be, you know, the distance between the base unit that we've installed and obviously this header here. The width's going to be the same. It's going to be 36 inches, and I've, of course, as you saw in the video, mitered the frame pieces to 45 so that it'll fit cleanly in this space. So let's install it. Now I'm using these 1¼ inch deck screws that I'm going to countersink so that we can get a nice quality fit. And it's also slide in nice and neat. We're also going to check level on this just to make sure we're somewhat square. Unfortunately, because of the post, I don't know if that's actually possible. Let's check it out. It's pretty good, actually. Screw. Yeah. There you go. Well done. Now we're going to do the same for the top piece. Slide it in place at the top and fasten it right up there. I've got a little misalignment because of the way these pieces were cut. A little overhang here and there, unfortunately, but it can't be helped. Again, scrap. go. Go. And it's the same drill using the same 1.5-inch screws. We'll wedge this in here the best we can and make it as square as we can. And there we go. Now we'll just measure and cut our trellis, so that we can fit this piece right there. Ba-bam! Inside to there, to the inside of here. Cooperate, please. That's 43 3/8. Okay. Now we need to measure out our trellis to that 43.5-inch dimension, which we'll do real quickly here. 43.5 right there. 43.5 inches. Mark it with our little pencil. Ta-da, already had a cheat mark there. Same thing here, 43.5. Ta-da. Just go down our trellis, mark out 43.5 inches wherever we can. Ta-da. 43.5 inches. Ta-da. And now line it all up with our straight edge. Mark our line. Quite quick there. All right, and that's our cut line. All right, here we go. Ta-da! Woohoo! So I discovered a small problem while I was putting this all together. That's this. I am off by a full inch with my trellis piece. It works on the bottom, doesn't work on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to solve two problems at once. One, I want a rounded edge on this top piece, and so what I'm going to do is take another piece and butt it up against this. So I'm going to make this an inch shorter and put a piece that's an inch wide right here up against it and thicken up this side edge, but at the same time give me a rounded edge down the corners. And it'll obviously make this much more sturdy on this side, and it won't look any different than anything else. So cut off an inch here, off the top piece right there, and that should be fine. All right, here we go. All right, so now we are going to slide our trellis into place. Squeeze it past our strawberries here. Get everything aligned with the groove. You want a snug fit, but not too snug. We want it all to fit. All right, looks like we are nearly there. So we pop that on this end. All right, ba-ba. Done. Sweet. And we fixed the problem. Now we have our alignment piece here. Final rail install. Get that in place. And then our little edge trim piece that we'll tack in here next to it and we get it stapled in place. So stay there. All right. Oh, bottom popped out. Right. There we go. Just like downtown. Then we'll finish it off with some deck screws. Finished look. That. Beautiful. There we have it. Finished trellis. I hope you were able to take away something from today's video. Hopefully, the ability to build one of these custom trellises. Now, as I mentioned, you can certainly buy a 4x8 foot trellis at any home store, but modifying those for your purposes can be very difficult. If you have any thoughts on today's project and are looking for any other kind of project, please use the comment section down below. If you are not currently subscribed to the channel, please do so by hitting the subscribe button down below. Also, be sure to hit the bell icon so you know whenever a new video is released, as I plan on releasing at least one a week. Thanks for checking out this episode of Cultured Builds. Let's build it.